In the chaos of war, sometimes the most powerful movements begin in the most unexpected places. The story of the Taliban does not start with tanks or political offices. It begins in dusty refugee camps, religious seminaries, and a country shattered by endless war. To understand how the Taliban became one of the most powerful forces in Afghanistan, we must go back to the aftermath of the Soviet-Afghan War in 1989. When Soviet troops withdrew, Afghanistan was left fractured. The communist government soon collapsed, and rival Mujahideen commanders, once united against the Soviets, turned their guns on each other. Kabul became a battlefield of competing warlords. Lawlessness, corruption, and violence dominated daily life. Out of this chaos emerged a new movement, the Taliban. The word Taliban literally means students. Many of these students were refugees who had grown up in religious seminaries along the Afghan-Pakistan border. Their leader was a little-known cleric named Mullah Mohammed Omar. In 1994, Mullah Omar gathered a small group of fighters in Kandahar. Their first mission was simple but symbolic. They rescued two girls who had reportedly been kidnapped by a local warlord. The act earned them public support among people exhausted by years of warlord brutality. What began as a small vigilante group quickly turned into an organized movement promising order, justice, and strict Islamic rule. Within 2 years, the Taliban swept across Afghanistan with astonishing speed. By 1996, they captured Kabul and declared the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan. Mullah Omar assumed the title Amir-ul-Momineen, the commander of the faithful. Their rule imposed strict interpretations of Islamic law, banning music, restricting women's rights, and enforcing harsh punishments. But the Taliban's rise was not just an internal Afghan story. Regional geopolitics played a major role. Neighboring Pakistan saw the Taliban as a force that could stabilize Afghanistan and secure strategic depth against India. At the same time, the movement hosted militant groups, including the network led by Osama bin Laden. This alliance would change the course of history. On September 11, 2001, the world watched in shock as Al-Qaeda carried out the attacks on the United States. In response, the US demanded that the Taliban hand over Osama bin Laden. When they refused, the United States launched a military campaign. Within weeks, the Taliban regime collapsed under the assault led by the United States and its allies during the US invasion of Afghanistan. Many believed the movement had been destroyed. But they were wrong. The Taliban retreated into rural Afghanistan and across borders, slowly rebuilding their insurgency. New leaders emerged after the reclusive Mullah Omar disappeared from public view. Figures like Mullah Akhtar Mansour and later Hibatullah Akhundzada reshaped the organization. During the next 2 decades, the Taliban fought a relentless guerrilla war against NATO forces and the Afghan government. They adapted their strategy, using roadside bombs, shadow administrations, and negotiations with local tribes. But the movement was never monolithic. Internal divisions created factions within the Taliban. Some commanders favored negotiations, while others preferred continued war. Splinter groups occasionally joined more radical organizations such as Islamic State, Khorasan Province, creating new rivalries. Despite heavy military pressure, the Taliban slowly expanded their influence across rural Afghanistan. Their resilience surprised even seasoned military analysts. Then came the turning point. In 2020, the United States signed a withdrawal agreement with the Taliban in Doha, Qatar, in what became known as the Doha Agreement. The deal paved the way for the departure of American forces after nearly 20 years of war. What happened next stunned the world. In the summer of 2021, the Taliban launched a rapid nationwide offensive. Afghan government forces collapsed far faster than expected. Province after province fell until, in August 2021, Taliban fighters entered Kabul without major resistance. The Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan was restored. It was one of the most dramatic political comebacks in modern history. Yet the Taliban's return to power brought new challenges. Afghanistan now faces economic isolation, humanitarian crises, and complex diplomatic relations. Only a few countries maintain formal engagement with the Taliban government. Geopolitically, Afghanistan sits at the crossroads of competing interests. Powers like China, Russia, Iran, and Pakistan are cautiously engaging with the new regime, each pursuing their own strategic objectives, from regional security to access to mineral resources. Inside the Taliban itself, the movement now faces a transformation from insurgency to governance. Running a country is far more complicated than fighting a war. Economic collapse, internal divisions, and security threats from groups like ISIS-K continue to test their authority. So what lies ahead? Will the Taliban evolve into a pragmatic government accepted by the international community? Or will Afghanistan remain isolated, trapped in cycles of instability? One thing is certain. The Taliban's journey, from obscure religious students to rulers of a nation, remains one of the most extraordinary and controversial stories in modern geopolitics.